So before we get started, I want to introduce you to the lovely lady Crystal, who is now on the screen. It reads, I don't know how to read, but neither did Jesus. That is one of the things I want to investigate a little bit. Luckily, Crystal is a character and it's not a real person. It's based on a mockumentary, a parody type thing. But I can guarantee as a fact that there is someone who has that much faith in God and religion and their beliefs that they will just do stupid things because, you know, they have this undeniable faith and belief. And the question is, if someone's, you know, ignoring education or is, you know, ignoring other things like that, is religion a good thing for society, or is it just holding us back? Since the beginning of time, we have been affected by religion in some way. Religion brings people together and tears others apart. But is it truly bad for us, is the question. Without religion, would we all be rapists and murderers, or would we live peacefully with no structure or politics? In this social experiment, we conducted a series of interviews about religion in society. This way we could hopefully determine the answer as to whether religion is good or bad for society. Religion is such a different word to so many people, and there can be so many different definitions. We went out and we looked to see what other people thought religion meant, and what it maybe meant to them, or what religion meant to, you know, society as a whole. This is what it looked like. Do you practice religion or faith in any kind of way?
No, not really.
Not at all, okay. And if you were asked to define religion, how would you define it in any way at all?
It's somebody's set of personal beliefs that they believe in.
What religious faith do you practice, if you do practice one?
I don't practice, but I would be a white Christian.
A white Christian, okay. And do you have a definition for religion? How would you define religion itself?
I would define religion in people believing in different gods.
Do you believe in a religion? Do you practice a religion or have faith in any way?
No.
Okay. The next question is, how would you define religion? What would you have as your definition for what religion is?
Religion, I guess, is supposed to be a belief in a god, whether it be Jesus Christ's God.
Do you practice a religion, or are you believing in a religion?
I am a believer, and I'm a non-practicing.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't go to church regularly, but
Yeah.
I feel as though my religion is I do a lot of charity work
Yes. Okay.
and raise money for charity in various ways.
Yeah.
And I have done for years and years
Yeah.
and years.
If you don't mind me asking, what is your religious belief?
Church of England.
Church of England. Okay. Thank you. The next question is, how would you define religion? What do you define religion as?
Well, it's individuals' beliefs, really.
Yeah. Okay.
It's, I suppose, a lot of it's to do with how you were brought up, isn't it?
Yeah, with your upbringing.
And then
yeah.
you define it by how you act.
Yeah. So as you grow up, you make your own belief and you make your own
yes,
style.
And
belief.
yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's up to you. If you turn out to be a horrible person,
Yeah.
you don't really
Yeah. It's your
need
own
a
fault.
religion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you practice a religious faith? Do you believe in religion?
Yes, I do, yes.
Yes. Okay. And how would you define religion? What's your definition of what religion is?
I believe
A belief
in God.
in God, in a
Yes.
supernatural being and other things
Yes.
like that. Do you practice a religious faith, or do you
No, I
believe in
don't.
it? You don't believe in religion in any...
No.
Not really? Okay.
No.
And
Right, not anymore.
any more?
Anymore.
Okay, is there anything further to add to that?
No.
Were you religious? at one point?
It was forced on me.
It was forced on you?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Well, we won't go any further than that. How would you define religion then?
It is a state of mind.
But now I'm going to read what the Oxford English Dictionary defines as a religion. They say, a religion is a belief in God or gods, a system of worship and faith, a formalised expression of belief. Do you agree or disagree with that? What's your
Yeah,
type of
broadly
opinion?
speaking, yeah.
Yeah, broadly speaking, yeah. So on a
I
wide
still think it's
spectrum.
quite personal, though.
Yeah, it's quite personal. It's definitely individual to a type of person, whereas the dictionary type sort of thinks it's focused on a God belief and it's to a sort of higher power, supernatural power. Do you agree or disagree? And what's your opinion on this definition?
I would agree with that because that covers different gods and different faiths for different religious people in the world.
Yeah, it's a fairly well blanketed.
It's a well blanketed
explanation
of religion. Yeah.
Do you agree with that or disagree with that in any way?
I agree with that.
You completely agree with that? You think that's how you would define religion?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Do you agree, disagree
No, I
with
agree
that?
with that,
You would
yeah.
completely
Yeah.
agree with that? Do you think
Yeah.
it's a nice blanket for
Yeah.
the religious aspect?
It's everybody up to their own belief.
Do you agree, disagree, or have a different opinion on that type of?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
It's definitely a belief, but a complete belief in everything and not just going to church.
Yeah, it's not just about church. It's about
It's not
believing in the world
in
and
the world and
yeah,
everything,
and
yes.
everyone in it. Okay.
Yes.
So you completely disagree with what they say in the
Absolutely.
book. So in the interviews, we ran into quite a big barrier, which is that we only encountered the same type of person. Living in like my neighbourhood, which is basically where we conducted all of our small interviews, was that they were all white and middle class and not a very wide age range. So it's not giving us a very good picture on society as a whole. So we can't really take their definitions or their opinions seriously, really, in the whole spectrum of things. So when you're thinking about it like that, their definitions do come in handy, but their opinions on whether society would be good or bad doesn't help very much. Okay, so we've been thinking, and that now that we sort of have a kind of definition for religion, which is the English dictionary one, which is the one we're using, it's not necessarily the right one, but it's the one we're going to use. We've thought about religion as a structure and religion as a core, and we've come up with a few pros and cons. Here we have the cons, and here we have the pros. So, the first pro is that it makes people happy. It gives us hope. It takes our minds off of the dull reality that is life. You know, you go to work, you pay bills, you have to spend money on kids maybe, and other things like that. Religion gives people something to, focus on. It gives people something to, gives people something to switch off to and be like, yeah, someone's out there who really loves me, and there's an eternal land after all of this, depending on what you believe in. There's a paradise where I'll go and be reunited with all the people I love. Religion is essentially a great big money grab. It's a grab for money. Now, whether that's for the religion itself or whether it's exploiting people, does a religion need money? Does God need money? No, God doesn't need money. When we were talking to people, particularly the Mormons, they said we're paying for the church, and we're paying for the church, not the belief, but we're paying for the religion. But that's, is that necessary? Do you need to pay for those things? They even said in the interview themselves that they could just pray. They could just pray and they could know in their hearts that God was there. Do they need a lavish church? Do they need all of these things? Can't you just feel it in your heart that God's there? It doesn't, feel right to me. So that's a con. Another pro is that religion offers quite decent benefits. Not necessarily the praying and what God can provide for you, but being religious can be quite beneficial. If you're a member of the English church, you might be able to get into a better school. You can get your children to a better school. If you're part of that religion, you can get a job working with the church. Sometimes it's voluntary, yeah, but if you're religious, they might, you might actually get a good job out of it. There are quite a few decent benefits to actually being a part of a religion. Another con, people are blindly following something that's not proven to be true. If you go down to any primary school, you'll see just a bunch of kids following this one kid because he said his dad worked at Nintendo. Just because someone says something does not mean it's true. And I think religion is that kid who says his dad worked at Nintendo. Yes, we worship God and we know God's real, so follow us so we can get more money. If you're following something that you don't know is true, learn more about it. Learn more about it before you just blindly jump into something. Read the books, read things, do research, talk to people about it, so you can make an educated decision. Yeah, sure, you might go, yeah, I don't think God's real, I don't want to do this. Don't do it. But you can't just go in blindly following something. And I think religion has this influence on people that makes people want to just follow it because of belief, and they believe it. But you can't do that. You have to make an educated decision. I'm working really hard on these sound effects for you. Right, okay? Yeah. I don't even see these words. I'm using my imagination, Louis. I'm using my imagination and my ability as an actor. Yeah. And you're abusing me, okay? I've written, directed, starred, right?
Doing Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. Done all of this. I wrote the theme tune, I sing the theme tune. I've done it all. And what have you done? Oh, I stand here with a camera and talk a bit sometimes. Right. Oh no, he's gone. Are we still going? Are we recording this? Another pro is that religion offers a sense of community, a solidarity, a feeling of belonging. It's human nature to just want to belong into a certain faction of society. And I think religion provides that in a very good way. If you're all praying for the same thing and all worshipping a similar thing, at least, and you will have very similar beliefs and you'll all think very similarly. And I think that helps people form friendships and relationships as well in some ways. And I think, religion is good in that aspect, that it can help bring people together, particularly many years ago when, you were forced into religion. In a way, you were forced into religion. And now you're not. And I think it's, quite a bad thing that we don't have that forced togetherness per se, if you know what I mean. I don't really mean, yes, you must be friends with these people. I'm just saying that religion helped us become more social. We found out the other day that people in society are not very social and they don't want to talk to anybody. I feel that religion made us more confident as people, made us more, about the community, and we're not anymore. That kind of upsets me. Another con, religion doesn't promote, but instills hatred and violence. People may misread and misjudge and misunderstand things in a holy book or from what someone part of a religion has said. We've had through the beginning of time has been religious disputes and arguments about what's right, what's wrong, what needs to be done. There are hate groups. You've got extremists in any religion. I'm not just talking about Islam because that's what everyone is focused on. There are extremists in every religion. There are extreme Jews. It's not one religion. It's all religion. All religion causes its own problems. There have been so many wars throughout time that have not got the right amount of coverage, that have not got the right recordings for us to talk about, because there have been religious aspects and everyone's afraid to talk about religion and the fear it creates. Religion is scary and religion is dangerous when not used properly. Pro. Religion offers us morals and gives us guidelines, tells us stuff we can do and stuff we can't do. Whether, they're still relevant today is arguable, but at least we have something to gives us guidelines and stops us from doing things. So, in my eyes, the Ten Commandments of the Bible is the only one I can think off the top of my head. But thou shalt not steal, again, is the only one I can think off the top of my head. Is one that's still relevant. You don't want to steal because it's immoral and it's horrible and someone maybe have worked really hard for that one thing that you've just taken. So, morals are a very essential and integral part of a religion, and I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing that they've done. Con. Some people may agree and some people may disagree with the overall argument of this, but there's one thing that's a fact. Religion is a precursor to politics. Throughout the ages, we have, used religion as our base. Religion is our forming of society. Whenever we had a problem, we'd go to the priest, the bishop, the pope, whatever, for our advice. In this day and age, it's not too different. We go to our local MP, we seek out help from the council, or if anything gets drastic enough, we'll go and speak to the Prime Minister, we'll speak to whoever's in charge of the country. Things aren't that different, things are the same. And religion has formed politics. At one point in time in this country, Catholicism controlled medicine and scientific discoveries. That just tells you that, the government are in charge of our medicine and our police and all of these things. Religion has been as well. Religion has got security. Religion has had power at one point, and then it's just become two different things now. The political side of religion has formed to make politics. And you can agree or disagree with this, whatever you want. But politics is the main downfall for wars. Sure, religion also causes war, but, politics does the exact same thing. It causes hate and violence and suffering and poverty, just like religion does. Therefore, proving my actual point that they're the same thing. They do the exact same thing. With the laws of politics, they try and create morals. With the Ten Commandments, religion has tried to create morals. They are the same thing. Now, whether that's good or bad is up to you, but I determine that as a con. Religion has formed one of the most evil and corrupt things we have in today's society. And that's not okay in my book. Okay, so we're going to interview with Ian Hayter, who is with the Wade Street Church, and we're just going to ask him a couple of questions about his faith and what religion means to him and how it's maybe changed his life or things like that. And then hopefully he's going to give us some good responses as to whether he thinks religion's good or bad for society, and maybe we can squeeze a bit of scripture out of him as well. So let's go.
And as I say, I'm going to have to just go in a few minutes
absolutely
just to say cheerio to the plumber, so you can edit that bit out.
Yeah, it'll just be a free-form conversation, so
yeah, that's fine.
I've only got base questions, so we'll just have a normal conversation
No
about
problem. Yeah.
it. Okay, so...
I'm a Christian.
A Christian, yeah.
And I work in a church, which is presumably why you've...
That's why I've contacted you, yeah.
And my beliefs, I would say, are orthodox Christian beliefs, in God, Father, Son and Holy Spirit, in the person of Jesus, who was a historical figure, but nonetheless Son of God, and what he did, in a sense, changed things for the rest of us. So there's something to look forward to in the eternal future. And that's really what drives me, both personally and, for want of a better word, professionally. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah, so you feel that your faith has influenced your job, or your job has influenced the faith?
Oh no, I mean I had a faith before I had the job.
Before,
Yeah. So I was brought up within a home where it was, kind of taken for granted, I suppose. Although there was a point where I had to make my own decision about that, whether to continue with it or not. Which happened while I was in my teens, but when I went to university, I studied French at university, and there was it came into it quite a bit. It's very difficult to, particularly in European societies, to look at the history, the culture, the literature, without some kind of Christianity lurking in the background somewhere.
Yeah.
So, for me, that helped to, I suppose, strengthen my belief to some extent. And since then, that's been my belief. Yeah.
So you were always like a type of Christian. You always knew there was something there.
I think I'd always believed something.
You'd always believed something was there.
yeah.
Yeah, so there was always something for you, and
Yeah.
you just was it a decision, or was it something you heard and then you thought that's for me?
Well, it was a bit of both, really. I suppose if you're brought up in that kind of situation,
yeah,
you get to a point where I suppose you've got to decide whether you're going to opt out of it.
mm-hmm.
Am I going to continue with this? Is what I've seen in the lives of my parents, my family, my friends, and so on. Is that something I'm going to continue with, or am I going to opt out of it? And there came a point where I said, no, I'm going to stick with this. Now, some people who had maybe not been brought up in that environment would at some point have had to make a decision to opt into it.
Yeah.
There's a book. I mean, if this is kind of sociology stuff, there's a book about plausibility structures, a theory of plausibility structures, that if you are in a situation where a particular belief is kind of reckoned to be plausible by everyone else, then you will get drawn into that.
Yeah.
That's a very simplistic way of looking at it. But so it kind of rubbed off for me, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were encouraged by books and other things like that.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, you've probably come across C.S. Lewis, who wrote The Line of Witch and Order and that kind of thing, who was a professor of literature, both at Oxford and Cambridge, huge intellect, very well-known literary figure. And for years and years and years, he considered himself to be an atheist and kind of kicked against Christianity in particular, and religion in general. And there's a bit in his autobiography where he talks about the point here he got to where he suddenly realised that all the great giants of literature whom he admired were Christians.
Yeah.
And so their kind of world and worldview was something that really he very much admired. And he actually became a Christian. I can't remember the exact phrase or something, but something like the most reluctant convert in Christendom, because he finally got to that point where he couldn't kind of kick against it anymore.
Couldn't really fight against. Yeah.
So for him, it was that kind of thing. Other people, maybe something completely different. I mean, I know there are, for example, some very high-profile sports stars who are Christians or musicians, and there are others who are drawn into the faith. Well, there's a book by Richard Holloway, I think his name was. He was the Bishop of Edinburgh, or Bishop of Oxford, no, Bishop of Edinburgh. A book called Religionless Morality, in which he argued that you didn't need religion to be moral. I think, I mean, yeah, if you take that just completely literally, yeah, it's true. But I think religion is what gives us the shared values to create a morality.
Yeah.
If you haven't got shared values, I don't think you can have a shared morality.
Yeah, everyone has a different morality because everyone has a different brain. I completely agree.
We would just revert to kind of selfish individualism, really. I think, if that were the case.
I think,
and religion, in my humble opinion, is the thing that gives us the best set of shared values on which to build that morality, which is why it is in the end good for society, because it provides a kind of cohesion which can be abused. It provides a shared view of the world, and that's something which again can be manipulated, and that's what sects and cults certainly cults often try and do. But there is that kind of common approach to life, the universe, and everything that helps us move forward.
Okay, so we are going to see two young Mormon missionaries and talk to them about their religion, their church, their book, because they have a book. And we're going to just talk to them a little bit about their faith, their lifestyle, what religion means to them, what religion is, I suppose. And hopefully they can give us some really, 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 different answers to what we've had, because people see their religion as very different, and I want to investigate that a little bit. So we're going to go and talk to them and see what they think about society and religion inside that society. Let's go. You got your bag, Luke?
Yep.
Go. Great. Okay, so I think we'll start with the first question, which is blank pages. What is your faith? Which is obvious you guys are Mormons, but the question is, how did you get into your faith? And were you born in it, raised in it, forced into it, which is one we've had from people we've interviewed before. So we'll start. How did you get into your faith? Yeah.
So, Mormonism is just like a nickname. We believe in Jesus Christ, and our faith is in Jesus Christ, not Mormon. Mormon is another prophet himself, same as Moses. As you read the Genesis, you read the words of Moses. So as you have respect for those words, it's the same thing with the Book of Mormon. And for me, I joined the church when I was 16. I was not forced into the church. Okay. And it was through someone who was working for my dad, and he was really, really a nice guy. And this guy, what he did with his life, he lived his life differently from most people who profess to be Christian and all that. Because I saw a lot of people sing and dance and say, I'm Christian, I believe in God. But I would say their words denied them. Their deeds say totally opposite to what they claim to be. And I've seen him, like most people, will do things which were bad to him, and he'll never retaliate. When he retaliated with love. He'll serve them more and do things more. And I got an interest that I asked him to follow him to church to know more about what he believes and everything. And missionaries came over and they taught me the gospel. And they didn't ask me to, say, oh, now because we told you have to join the church. Yeah. They asked me a simple thing, to ask God if the things which I've learned, if they're true. And I did pray and ask God to find out for myself. And I remember the first time when I was trying to ask, it was just for a joke, so that I can mess and see if there is this, God and everything. And I also read the Book of Mormon, and also was going to church. So it was through three simple foundations. It was church, prayer, and reading that helped me to find my foundation, so that I can find my testimony about this. And reading through those things, that's how I became like a member of the church.
So were you religious before, or you weren't religious at all before?
So my uncle is a pastor of another denomination. Like sometimes I'll go with him to church, but I was never really interested into church in Jesus Christ. It was a nice story for someone to tell. That's what I'll say about church before. Yeah.
Okay. So now you're obviously the complete opposite from what you were then, because you're on this mission and you're trying to spread the word of Jesus Christ. You're supposed to spreading the word of God and the beliefs in the book. So you've gone complete opposite, like I said. Do you think it could have been different had you not done that?
I would say it's a great decision compared to a good decision.
Yeah.
A good decision will be like, I can go around and say I'm a good person and I do good deeds and everything. But that doesn't mean anything to me. The greatest decision I've ever made is to follow Jesus Christ, and that is through baptism and saying, yep, I'm offering myself to serving him and joining his church, so that I can receive, every blessing that God has for me in store.
Okay. Move on. So your faith is Mormonism, obviously, and so how did you get into it? Were you always a part of the church, or was there a different backstory?
So my parents are members of this church. So since I was young, they always went to church on Sundays. But something that I really respected that they did was they never forced me to go. They always invited me. They said, would you like to come with us to church? And sometimes yes, sometimes no. But, like my companion was saying, we live a slightly different lifestyle than most people. There's some things that we do and some things that we don't do that are different than average people, I suppose. Yeah. But there came a time in my life when I decided I either need to do these things and want to do them, or decide that this is not true and go my separate ways happily. My parents have never forced any of this upon me or made me do anything. So I decided when I was about 16 years old, I needed to know if this is true, or am I just wasting my time? Yeah. And so I did also those three simple things. I read from this book every day, even if it was just enough just to read a few words. But I read every single day. I prayed every single day, and I made an effort to go to church each week. And as I started doing these things, I received answers. Now, at the start, they were small, just feelings or thoughts that came to my mind. But over time, I really saw miracles happen in my life, and I felt very strongly that this book was true. Now, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, you might be able to deny. But over the course of my life, since I started doing those things, it's happened almost every single time I open that book. And so I've gotten to that point where I would never be able to deny that anymore.
Do you think that it's possible it could be a placebo, that you found peace with God and you've met this new religion, and then everything just seems to be brighter in your life, everything seems to be going well? Or do you think it was actually a greater power?
My life was good before.
Yeah,
My life was great before. I've been happy, I've been sad, even after, like, even as a missionary, like, as an official representative of this church. Life is hard sometimes. We all go through hard times. So I would say from before I knew that there was a God and before I prayed about this book and received my answer that it was true, till now, my life has improved. The quality of my life has improved. But I would definitely not say that was a placebo effect.
No. Okay.
Because that's a direct result of the choices, decisions I've made, and the blessings that have come.
Okay. We'll go to the next question, which is so how would you define religion? Not just this religion, but religion in general. What would you say religion means to you and to other people?
So, for me, what I'll say is, like, especially like since we're missionaries and we share the message, and I'll start with the church first thing, that we don't share religion. We don't go around and say this is religion. This is part of the tree and all that. What we do, we share the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what we do. We share a message and saying, here's the fullness of the truth that has been lost, and we're sharing it. Religion is part of those truths. Like most churches, they're great churches. They're trying to help most people to come back to God, but they don't have that fullness of the truth. And I know this is a big statement for me to say.
That's fine.
But I stand boldly to say it because I know it's something that is true. And this is one thing that I know that we really, really share, that we know that is true. We don't share religion, but we share the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that's all we share. And we invite people, others to come unto Christ by helping them receive the restored gospel through faith in Jesus Christ and his atonement, repentance, baptism, receiving the gift of the Holy Ghost, and enduring to the end. That's a simple thing that we do ourselves. We don't share about religion.
So your definition for religion?
Yeah. I look at religion as a belief or a faith that people hold to, and that it's not so simple as just saying, oh, I believe in God. I don't think that's a religion. I think a religion is a way of life. When your faith becomes an integral part of your life, when it affects your decision making. And so, quite simply, religion is the way that we live our lives in accordance with our beliefs.
I completely agree. That was a very valid point. Do you think that belief is enough in some cases? Because someone can just say, I believe this, and then could you criticize someone for that? If someone said, I believe in killing sea otters or something, would you say that's okay? Or is that a belief, or is that just a messed up thought?
I wouldn't be a judge, like to judge anyone, but when it comes to belief, like if I were to answer on that perspective, I like what Elder Baxter likes to compare to muscles. Like if I wanted to have like strong muscles, if I go and watch TV and watch bodybuilders lift weights, that doesn't mean I'll get strong.
Yeah, it won't make you stronger. Yeah.
And I believe what they're doing, that it will make them strong. But if I don't do it myself, it won't help me anyway. It will be great to watch this and think, oh, I wish I can look that good, and continue eating those pizzas and pumping myself up. But to answer the question is, like, belief is really, really important. And I like James how he describes belief or faith. He says, faith without works is dead. And Peter says, show me your faith and I'll show you my faith in my works. So these things are somehow they're connected. So belief is something that has action inside it. It's not something that you just go, I believe,
Yeah.
I guess my response would be, if I told you I was a professional rugby player, would you believe me?
No, not really.
No. Okay, probably not.
No.
Have you seen me play rugby before?
No.
Okay, so you wouldn't believe me. Now, I could go around saying that. I could go around telling people that. Maybe they would believe me, maybe not. But does that change the fact of whether I am or not?
No, it's just a guess.
Yeah. I'm not a professional rugby player. Your guess was correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, right? But if I went around telling people that makes no difference to whether I actually am or not. Whether I actually am or not is a consequence based on my actions. If I'd worked out, played rugby all my life, auditioned or tried out for a team and made it, then I would be or an actual professional rugby player.
Mm-hmm.
But because I haven't done those things, I'm not.
Mm.
So if people go around saying, I believe this, but they do otherwise, then I would say that that's not real faith. That's not real religion.
Yeah, you've got to do something about it before it can actually be a belief in a religion. So okay. I'm going to read to you now what the good old Oxford English Dictionary defines as a religion, and you can tell me whether you guys agree or disagree with this. They say a religion is a belief in God or gods, a system of worship and faith, a formalised expression of belief. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Agree.
Agree? Yeah? Okay. So, do you know anything about the cult/religion Scientology?
Not much.
Not much about it. It's as simple as they believe that they can reach you inner peace by just telling you that you're good at things, and that they'll go through serious ceremonies and so forth until you'll become inner peace, and then you'll live forever, eternally through spirit and so forth. And people have been labelling them as a cult for so many years now, but who's to say that they're not a religion based on that definition? And who's to say that based on the same rules, Catholicism or your religion or Christian or Judaism is not a cult? Because they follow very similar hierarchies and similar rules and things like that. My question is, what's the drawing point between a cult and a religion?
What's the drawing point between a cult and a religion? I don't know much about Scientology.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I don't know a lot about it. From your definition, from what I understand, they receive inner peace through positive affirmations.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I don't know much about the practices, so I couldn't really give you a valid comment about whether they're a religion or a cult. But I would just say, for myself, I think it's better not to judge. If these people are doing something for themselves that is not harmful to those around them, and that does not affect the people around them any negative ways, then I just won't judge.
Yeah, okay. And you're the same, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we all have the right to our own religion. Is that the type of thing you're saying? And that we shouldn't impart judgment on people for what they believe and what they have faith in. Is that more or less? Okay. We'll go to the next question, which is the big one. Is religion good or bad for society? Does it provide good things that outweigh all of the negative things which do happen in society because of religion?
That's a really, really great question. And myself, I'll straight away and say religion is great, and it's a great thing to have in a society. And it depends on how people use it, but when we follow, I'll say basically when we follow Jesus Christ basically in our lives, it is easy like not to be led astray. And especially when we have prophets here on earth, it is not easy to be led astray. Like ourselves, we have a living prophet today, who is Thomas S. Monson, who I truly know that he's a living oracle of God, that he can receive revelation from God. I know that religion is really, really a great thing, because we cannot be led astray. Like, for example, from ancient ages and ages, like, people have lived by the laws of religion. And when people live by the laws which were brought by religion, most people were blessed. They were prosperous, and they enjoyed the blessings that the Lord has had for them. But the most thing that people forget is that people overlook the things, and they start to question things. Like when you question most of the time, I can tell it's easy for Satan to misguide you, especially when it comes to religion. But to ask questions and to have questions is a great thing. But when you question things, I can promise you, and I can tell you straight away that it's easy to be misguided. And with religion, the most thing that people look at is, like, for example, wars. That's why I bet you asked this question, because there's wars and people say religion brought this wars and everything. And there's a scripture which I really, really like in James, and I like to read it. It's in the New Testament. So James here, he kind of like describes where wars and everything do come from, and I like how he describes it, and I feel like it's something that answers like the question about most people like have about wars and religion. And he's in chapter 4 of James, verse 1, it says, "From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lust that war in your members. So one thing, religion does not bring war, but war is brought because of our own lust and our own weaknesses.
So the corruption of society is what's the problem, and it's not to do with the religion. Okay, I see what you mean. You were saying that through ages, people have always followed religion, and in the Middle Ages, in this country at least, Catholicism was oppressive and exploitive of peasants and poorer people, because you could have. They would say, "Oh yeah, we'll get you into heaven. We'll get you into heaven. And we'll get you this happy place, but you have to pay us to pray for you." And the question is something good for society? If a church is doing something like that, is that good for society, or is that bad for society? That they're taking money off people who have worked hard for it? Because I know the Mormon Church takes 10% of the income from the household to fund for, I don't remember the name of it, begins with a T, but yeah. And I just want to know what that really is, just real quick.
Sure.
Why you're paying that 10%? Sure. Because a lot of people give me different answers, and
the simple answer about tithing is it's not an oppressive thing. It's not something that we are forced to do by no means. If we don't pay, nobody comes to our door knocking on our front door, kicking our door down.
Yeah.
What it means, it comes from the scriptures, even from the Bible in Malachi, chapter 3, verse 10. If you'd like, you can read that sometime. But what it talks about is providing an offering to the Lord. So everything that we have in our lives, we believe, is a blessing. It comes from us. It comes to us from the Lord, from God. Now, when we recognize that and we're grateful for it, like we're willing to give some of that back. Now, in today's time, that comes in the form of money, whereas previously things like sacrifices were given, or previously, even in the times of the Bible, they gave other things, goods. But money is obviously the most common thing today.
Yeah.
Now, the reason for that is to show our understanding and gratitude for what we have. But that money is used to build temples, church buildings, provide Books of Mormon so we can give them out free to people.
Yeah.
Additionally, along with tithing, there is a fund called Fast Offering that we pay that. And that money is used directly, 100%, to help disaster victims, needy people, people that don't have enough money to eat. Now, all of these funds are used for exactly what they are intended for, as nobody in the church, not one person, is paid.
Yeah, it's all voluntary then. So everything to do with the church. Because so is there could be churches anywhere that could just take that money though, and like you were saying, there was the corruption in societies that caused the wars. Is there not a corruption inside a church that could do that? Is that just an impossibility?
The way I look at it is, it's quite simple. When we look at all things in society, like let's take space exploration. When a shuttle goes up into space, there are thousands of calculations done. Now, regardless, sometimes that shuttle crashes. Sometimes it explodes. We've seen accidents over history. We don't need to go into those.
Yeah.
What I have to say is, does that mean that math is imperfect?
No.
No. Does that mean that the people exercising the math or doing the problems, they're the ones who make the mistakes? So going back to your original question about is religion good or bad, and I guess that indirectly answers about corruption and things like that as well, is religion in itself is pure and it is true and it is good. Although humans, we make mistakes. We all make mistakes in our lives. Sometimes by accident, sometimes not. But the people who sometimes are led to run churches or to be in a position of power, they make mistakes too. Sometimes accidental, sometimes intentional.
Yeah.
But those are the mistakes that lead to corruption and wars. But those are the people's errors. That's not the error of the religion, because they're not doing what the religion says.
So religion itself is pure and good and provides a good light for the future. But are you suggesting that society is holding back religion from being a beacon of light to society, sort of thing?
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say we're holding religion back. Like, religion is... Alright, we'll use a beacon like you said. If there's a light in the distance, that is firm, that is unmoving. It is our choice whether to walk towards it, to meander around that path or to completely walk the other way. But that light is firm and unmoving. That's kind of my take on religion.
Yeah.
It's there. There are a lot of different kinds of religion, and I'm not, going to say one is good, one is bad, because ideally they all teach good morals. They produce upstanding citizens.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's our choice whether we follow that light or not.
Yeah. So as an individual, we all can make our own choices, but the problem is we live in a hierarchy basically, and there are people who could stop us from following religion, and there are people who will force us towards religion when maybe we don't want to be a part of it. And like you were saying, that the beacon is free forming and can move on its own. Who's to say someone can't just stop it because they have enough power in society? Because cultural capital and all these things can give people too much power, and they can stop things that don't need to be stopped. So who's to say someone who has this face on and is proposing a religion isn't this evil, greedy person who is going to stop religion and then stop you from becoming a part of it, or force you into becoming a part of it and just giving them money? Who's to say that's not a thing that can happen?
So one thing that God has blessed us with that we really, really treasure in the church is agency. Mm-hmm. And what agency is the ability to choose between good, I like to say between good and best, because basically it's choosing between good and evil. And this is one thing that God has blessed us with. And whether they be like people who force us not to believe in God, or whether they be people who force you to believe in God, God has given you the choice to whether you want to believe or not.
So we're on our way to third interview with Jan Waterfield of Christchurch in Lichfield. We're just going to get there, talk to her about religion. She's going to give us a tour around the church, that's really nice of her. And then we're just going to have a look at the church, see what kind of things are practiced in that faith, and then we'll get down to the interview and we'll talk it out, I suppose. But this is the third and final interview that we are, conducting this way. So, firstly, what is your faith? What do you practice?
Yes, I am a Christian, and I am an Anglican priest. I've been ordained 14 years, worked prior to being here in Lichfield in the parish of Bilston, which is just outside Wolverhampton, a very different socio-economic area to Lichfield. But yes, so I've been ordained 14 years. I wasn't brought up in a faith family at all. I actually started to go to church when I was preparing for my marriage. So I've been regular churchgoer for about 36 years.
So you weren't a part of religion before you became?
No, I mean we were nominally a Christian family, as a lot of families in this country are. But no, I had no experience of regular church going. However, I have always had an experience of God, in that I always knew there was somebody else there, and I never knew who or what that somebody else was.
You always believed in like a supernatural being?
No, I didn't even know if I believed in it. I just know. The whole of my life I have known that I'm not alone. So, you know how when most people are standing and somebody walks up behind them, they can sense that there's somebody
they can
there?
feel something,
I can't do that. Because I've got that sensation almost all the time. I always know there's somebody else with me, and I couldn't account for what it might be. And then I think when I encountered organised Christianity, regular church worship, it all became very clear to me that I think I'd known all the time it was God, but what I'd have described God as, I couldn't say until I actually started being a regular worshipper.
So, do you think that religion changed your life? Like it was religion that had changed your life, or was it decisions you'd made?
Let's start off. I've got a real issue with religion because I would never call myself a religious person. I would prefer to call myself a person of faith.
Right.
So my faith in God informs everything I do. Because the religion I follow is Christianity, and the teachings of Jesus inform everything I do, in the way that if I was a Muslim, it would be the teachings of Muhammad, peace be upon him, or if I was a Sikh or a Hindu, I'd be following the Gurdwaras, the Guru Nanak, or I'd be looking at the Upanishads. The way I live my life is as a result of my faith in God that is practised through my Christianity.
Okay. So, do you feel as though your faith has made life easier or difficult? As in, like, it's opened more doorways, possibly.
Well, it's given me a job.
Yeah,
that's
a good sign. Yeah.
I can give you examples of how it's made life easier. I can also give you examples of how it's made it an awful lot more difficult.
Yeah.
It is different because I have got something to aspire to, and I aspire to live the way that I believe Jesus would want me to live. So after I leave here today, I'm going to do a funeral visit. I'm going to discuss the funeral of a gentleman who was a regular worshipper here at Christ Church, so I knew him and his wife, who died on Monday. They called me in. I did the Christian rite of the last rites, extreme unction, so I anointed, we prayed, we read the scriptures together. He died about 45 minutes afterwards. That sounds a really miserable way to spend your bank holiday Monday.
Doesn't sound great.
But actually, it's a huge privilege to be asked to go.
Of course, yeah.
And two, that is the sort of place where my faith makes my life easier. Because, yeah, I feel great sadness that this man has died, as I do whenever we lose people we love. I'm really sad, but I'm sad for me, I'm sad for Margaret, his wife, because we won't see him again in this earthly life. But our faith leads us to believe that, well, actually, we'll be reunited in eternity. So when I'm sad at funerals, I'm not sad for them, I'm sad for us. That's one way in which my faith makes my life easier. It's not that I don't mourn them. When my mum died, it wasn't, oh great, she's dead. It was, well, I'm glad her suffering's over, but I'm sad for her and I'm for my dad, but I know we're going to be together eventually. In other ways, it makes life really difficult because if you take on the teachings of Jesus that you do live with charity towards other people, try to be non-judgmental. The fruits of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22, love, joy, peace, self-control, that's always a difficult one. Because part of the human psyche, we want to do what we want to do, don't we? We like what we do, and if it makes us feel good, then we usually want to do it. Some of those decisions aren't good ones. Doesn't mean to say we don't choose to do it. Perhaps it makes us more aware that we shouldn't, and then sometimes we still do. But of course, if we have made mistakes, it gives us the potential for forgiveness, because I believe that if I've done something wrong, I've hurt somebody, and I realise afterwards what I've done, I can say I'm sorry. Now that person doesn't have to forgive me. That's up to them. And if they don't forgive me and that relationship is destroyed, then that's the price I've got to pay. But I have to believe, and I do believe, that if I say I'm sorry to God, then I will be forgiven. Whether the person forgives me or not, God's forgiven me. And the bottom line is that that's what really matters. So it's a mixed bag, but on the whole, I think more positive than negative.
So you were talking about the funeral and those things. Do you think there's a necessity to have the funeral? Is it more for the people going to the funeral, or more for the person?
Oh no, I don't believe that anybody who's died needs a funeral. I believe that they're already with God. The funeral's for us. It's our opportunity to remember their life, to celebrate, to acknowledge the good and the bad. And if it's a Christian funeral, and they aren't all, obviously, because there's a big rise in humanist celebrants now, it's our opportunity to thank God for that. So no, funerals aren't for them.
Yeah, because there's the argument that funerals aren't even religious anymore, it's simply out of tradition. So it's
very much, and they can be very much that way. It's amazing the number of people who come to church to organise their parents' religion or their partner's funeral, who will say to me when I say, "Well, have you thought about any hymns or readings or anything?" And they go, "Oh, well, we were hoping you'd tell us because we're not very religious." But they're not willing to take the risk almost. I don't think, because you see, I am what is called a universalist. I believe that everybody has the potential to go to God after death. I don't believe you only practicing Christians get in. I really can't believe that God would condemn millions of people out of hand just because they haven't had access to or have shown no interest in the Bible. I can't believe that.
So you believe that live well and you follow morals,
well, no, not even that really. No, I mean the universalist spectrum of whatever means that I believe in a God who is so big and so good that, like any parent, they will say to their child, "I love you and I want you back." In my head, the way I've worked it through is that we choose, after death, we choose not to go to God. There are some people whose lives have been so tainted by the evil choices that they've made. People like Pol Pot, Hitler, people like Harold Shipman. They have consistently made extremely bad choices in their life, bad for the people around them, bad for themselves. At the moment of death, I believe that we encounter God, and we have the chance then. God will open his arms to us and say, "Welcome in." But maybe that there will be a lightness, there will be brightness, there will be so much overwhelming love that people who've lived in the darkness and with hatred and fear for so long can't embrace it. I don't think God turns anybody away. If people don't get to God, it's their choice. Not convinced that's anything you'll find in the scriptures. It's just something that I have reflected on, prayed about, because certainly when I was in Bilston, we did a lot of funerals. I'd be doing 50 funerals a year. And 48 of those would be for families who never darkened the door of a church. So am I going to give them less because they're not Christians? Well, no, I'm not.
No.
Because that person mattered to God as much as the Archbishop of Canterbury matters to God.
We were thinking the other day that when we were trying to interview people, we only wanted one question from them, which is, do you think religion is dangerous or scary? And we tried asking a lot of people, and a lot of people just walked right past us, and a lot of people just ignored us. We even discovered there was a radius around us which people would not walk in because they knew we were going to ask them questions. And that made me think, and Louis think, that could it be society's fault? Are we too scared to talk to each other? Are we too focused on ourselves and people that we already know that we don't want to branch out anymore? My main question here is society the reason religion is a problem? Is it because people are too scared of everyone else around them to even think they have something in common with them? Because we've already discussed whether religion provides a community, and we know it does. So I ask, is it because we're all scared of one another? Is it society's fault? Are we making religion bad? Or can we make it good? And I don't know. But maybe it's society's fault.
Questions? A space in which people will not walk past us.
I'm now referencing the gap shown that people are avoiding.
It's like a bubble where people ignore us.
I feel like John Travolta. Yeah, yeah.
Religion.
We're not selling. Survey. Documentary.
Survey just about religion.
How many questions?
It's just the one question.
Oh, go on.
Okay, do you mind being recorded at all?
Oh, I don't know. You're not taking it out of your heart.
No. It's just so I can have information.
Yeah.
Right now. Do you think religion is scary or dangerous? No.
It's
a recording.
Dangerous.
Do you think religion is dangerous or scary at all in society? Dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Don't take any interest. Okay, that's not a problem.
Full and qualified atheist.
Full and qualified atheist.
So would you say that religion is dangerous for society then, as you are an atheist?
I think it causes more wars.
It causes more wars.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for your help, sir. That will thank you for the nice everyone's walking past us.
Yep. How about that dog?
The dog doesn't want to talk to us.
Ah.
This is going so well.
He's got the wireless earplugs in. Oh dear.
Not a problem. Hello, sir. Do you mind if I ask you just a couple questions about religion?
Okay.
It's alright.
See ya.
Not making myself look like a dick at all. Oh, this is normal. This is what everyone does in their summer holiday, isn't it?
Oh, he's going and doing them bargains. Wherever.
Well, that's just a religious symbol. Hello, sir. Do you mind if I just ask you a couple questions? No one's at all.
This is great. I love it. It's
Well,
good.
then maybe we can get at least. How are the missionaries doing?
I don't know. They were right about if we help one person.
Oh yeah.
They were right about that. If we get
one bloke, which is alright.
Yeah, but I don't even know if the camera picks him up. He was talking so quietly. I think we can send it over himself. Wait, did we get two?
Yeah.
Who was the other one? That woman who didn't want to be talked to. Well, did, but didn't want to be recorded, which I did
They're
anyway.
too slow to run away, is the enemy.
This is lovely footage. I'm getting in. Do you mind being
recorded? It's all. I'd rather you do. That's fine.
Oh, that's fine.
So the first question is: Do you think religion society is bad or dangerous? Sometimes. Sometimes. So you're a bit. Yeah. All right. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lovely.
Well, we got that one.
Cool.
I've got a shoe. Can you turn the Mr. Woodby van on? Because I'm going to hear my audio, it's going to be brrrr. Yeah, they do that thing where they don't look.
Everyone stiffens up and looks.
Yeah.
It's not alright.
Promised to be nice today, nothing nice.
We need to try and get the youth demographic involved. Would they? I wouldn't. Oh yeah. I'm technically an elderly person by brain, aren't I?
So, do you mind if I just ask you a really quick question about religion? That's all.
Go on then, very quick, yeah.
Okay.
Do you mind if you recorded audio?
Yeah, go on then, how quick is this?
It'll be really quick. So, do you think religion in society is dangerous, scary, positive or negative? What do you think religion is in society?
I don't know.
Good question. I haven't thought about. I don't think it's dangerous.
No, you don't think it's dangerous?
Each to their own.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, that's
Yeah,
fine.
everyone makes their own choice. Okay, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Cheers.
Thank you.
It's audio. It's fine.
What do you think religion is positive or negative in society?
Is this theology? We're doing a documentary.
Everyone is glazing past us, I'm serious.
Okay.
People don't even say anything and walk past us.
I did this last night, but I don't know.
Yeah, she gave it to my parents.
So, go on. Do you think it's positive or negative in society?
I think it's positive in society.
Do you think it's positive in society?
Yeah.
What about you, Becky?
Positive to the individual, not society.
Okay, thank
Religion
you.
has caused a lot of wars and stuff,
Yeah,
so yeah.
Go on.
Okay.
So while I was finding the definition of religion, we came across the word conformity in, I think, religious or something like that. And that made me think, what's the dictionary definition for conformist and conformity? And we found this for conformist. Louis hit a sieve.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to put it when I was emptying the dishwasher, so I just put it there. And then Louis knocked it with his arm.
Still good.
Blooper reel.
Yeah.
That's comedy. Put that in.
Yeah, will do.
One who conforms to established rules, standards, etc., compliance with the rites and doctrines of an established church. I have two problems. My first problem is that the English dictionary uses conforming. What do they use? They use conforms in their definition of conformist. And then my second problem is that they talk about an established church, which is more or less a religion. So conformist uses religion in its definition, and religious uses conformity in its definition. That just makes me think, is religion good or bad? You can't tell. How can something that is good be defined with a word that has so many negative connotations? If someone was to conform under an oppressive regime, that's a bad thing, right? If someone were to conform to an oppressive religion, is it good because it's a religion? No, it's still just as bad. But of course you can conform to good things. A bad pupil can finally conform to good school rules. So a person can easily conform to religion, I suppose. But the answer's still not there. We'll never know. So this is the conclusion. There were a lot of good discussions that happened off camera and ones that happened on camera with Ian and Jan and the elders of the Mormon Church. There were a lot of very, very long debates between me and Louis to determine what actually was, the answer. Is religion good or bad? We don't know. And I don't think we'll ever know. Religion's one of those things. It's the exact same thing as politics. Is it good or bad? We did the pros and cons list and we just came out with a balanced answer. So yeah, sure, some of them were a bit invalid and some of them you may disagree with, but you tell me the right answer. You can have an opinion, but you won't have the right answer. We decided that we'd end it this way. Religion as a core and as a solid object and as a structure and not abused is good, and it helps society and it helps us function. But for society, it's bad. It's not necessarily relevant anymore, and society is greedy. Who's to say religion or religious people are not greedy themselves? They're a part of the society just as much as we are. They're not the same. They are not different to us just because they wear robes and they pray a lot. They're the same as us. They have greed They're human, like we all are. So, there is no answer. You can't answer this question. Particularly when there is no one definition and we can't interview everyone on this planet. We found out that no one wants to be interviewed anyway. So it's an impossibility. No one can answer this question until we either find heaven and see God or prove there's no such place. So, sorry I may have got you all excited. Very unlikely, but if you got all excited about this, waiting, I wonder what the answer's going to... There is no answer. There isn't one. Sorry.
John 3:16 is God loved for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that all who believe in him may have faith and come to have everlasting life. The next verse is verse 17, which says that Jesus didn't come to judge but to love. So if you go to American sporting, there's obviously events, there's usually a psalm in John 3:16. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that all who believe in him should have everlasting life. But they don't go on to the next one, which says, and he came that we should live abundantly and know God's goodness. They just like this bit because I'm saved and the rest of you can go and whistle. So yeah, I like that. I like the Gospel of Mark because everything happens immediately. There's a lot of action in Mark. Psalms are wonderful. They speak into the whole of the human condition. No, there was no IVF or AIDS in the time of the scriptures, but every human emotion is in there in the Psalms. Proverbs are good, the wisdom literature. Numbers is incredibly boring, I have to tell you.
There are two, really.
That's fine.
I'm allowed to have
both.
two.
That's fine.
One from the New Testament, one from the Old Testament. The New Testament one is... reading glasses, sorry.
That's alright.
Therefore, this is Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Don't conform any longer to the pattern of this world, which I would take to be this kind of individualistic, selfish kind of way of looking at things, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. In other words, you've got to have a completely different sort of world view that you look through to see the world around you and recognise, for want of a better way of putting it, the kind of godness in it.
Yeah.
Okay. The Old Testament one is from one of the prophets, from Jeremiah, chapter 29, and he writes, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And the hope and future bit is the kind of thing that I think we need to hold on to, because if you just look at what's going on in the world around you, without any kind of religious, for want of a better word, faith background, it does seem pretty hopeless and not much future in it. But I think with God in the situation, it makes a huge difference. I mean, there's plenty of other things I could have read out that I find very helpful, but those are probably just off the cuff.
Yeah,
the two things that I would stick with.
Okay.
The path of the righteous man is beset of all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers, and you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.